Hey, hi everybody. Thank you for joining me. Hey, good afternoon to you too. I just wanted to jump on here today. I'm not sure if you all saw, I posted on my stories a few times that I was going to talk about hormonal hair loss and scarring forms of hair loss, or CCCA, but I'm going to attempt to do that today. And for those who don't know who I am LaRon Quarles. I am a certified IAT trichologist here in the Pleasantville, New Jersey area, and I'm also in Montclair, New Jersey when a client needs me. Oftentimes I'll have clients that'll say, let me get where my prompt for my earphone. Okay, Google Pixel. There's nothing for me to plug up, so I can't plug up no earphones. Okay, I guess I have to just do it this way. So yes, I said I would jump on here today because a few weeks ago I talked about lichen planopilaris, and that is a scarring form of hair loss. I do see that a lot among African American women in my trichology and hair restoration center. But I wanted to also talk today about another form, or two forms of hair loss, which are hormonal based hair loss and scarring forms of hair loss. These two usually encompass the whole crown, or they usually begin somewhere in the top of the head or either in the vertex. So I wanted to just describe these to you a bit in detail. So hi there everyone that just joined. I am LaRon Quarles, certified trichologist here in the Pleasantville, New Jersey area. So if you all don't know who I am or you haven't followed my channel at all, I just wanted to point that out. I am a hair restoration specialist. I like to work holistically. So if there's anything that I can do to help you restore hair growth and whatever is feeding these arteries and veins, I want to help you do it naturally without drugs and without shots and different pills. So the only pills that I want to give to you are herbs or anything that's going to help balance your body. But I wanted to talk to you today about hormonal hair loss. Now, when you think about hormonal hair loss, I want you to think about anything that is dependent upon your hormones. And your hormones comprises your endocrine system or your endocrine system. So when you think about that, think about things that, make you who you are, that makes you a woman or makes you a man. So when there's something going on in that top area of your hair where you're losing your hair, it could be, it's not always a possibility that is hormonal, but it could be hormonal. Often when hair loss comprises the crownal area, it could be a number of different things, but Americans have gotten to their head that everything is DHT based, and not everything is broken down by DHT. Not everything causes hair loss resulting from DHT. Sometimes there are a few things that are off in the body that you need to balance or you need to supplement, and that's why you're having those issues. So I'll just continue. And if you all have any questions, just send them and I will get back to you. Hi, Leigh Jean. How you doing? So when I say that hormonal hair loss depends upon heredity, usually if you have some type of dominant recessive genes, like if you had a father or a mother who suffered from baldness and your mother or father didn't give you a good gene to counteract that, you may suffer from male or female pattern baldness. Now that is something that happens in the crown. You may have seen like the George Jefferson type look or the Bozo the Clown type look, but it also can comprise the very temporal regions of the hair, and it can also start in the very, very top vertex of the hair. What I also like to get across to my clients is when your hormones are unbalanced, I see plenty of my clients who find out that they have thyroid issues because their hair is thinning in that type of pattern. The hair starts to begin thinning in that vertex or that top area of the crown, or the whole crown will begin to get thin because hormonal related hair loss is dependent upon your androgens. So when your androgens are affected by something that usually helps keep them stable, keeps them cyclical and on a structure or some type of schedule, when that is unbalanced, like when your thyroid is unbalanced and you find out that you're hyper or hypo, or you find out that you have Graves' disease or something like that, one of the first tells is that your hair begins to thin in that area, or you're tired, or you're sluggish, or your eyes begin to bulge, or you get a goiter. So there are tells that your body gives you to let you know, yes, you are having some hormonal related issues. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, I like to point out with my ladies and with my men, with my ladies, because as we age, estrogen starts to take a natural dip. It can begin when you're 25, it can begin when you're 30 to 35, it can be 40 to 50, but you'll often see that your hair will lack that luster, it will lack that sheen, that the way your hair used to be when you were in your 20s. It will change as you age because your rates of estrogen start to decline. So that is natural. I also, hey Santine, a long time no see. I also have to explain that to women, that you are not the same person. I myself, I'm 54, I have the gray to prove it. You are not the same person you were in college. You are not the same person you were in your 20s. So you have to understand the fact that your hair is going to change because your body is changing. So when your body's hormones start to take a dip and they start to change, naturally you can see changes in your hair. So those are two reasons. When something is affecting your thyroid or some of your hormones, you can see a change in your hair. When you're having a dip in your estrogen, you can see changes in your hair. So that's hormonal type hair loss. Also, my clients that are males who are suffering with androgenetic or androgenic hair loss, that is actually male pattern baldness. Now, I always see it, and I see it begin in some men as early as 16 to 17. I have a client who is 17. He started becoming my client at 16. He was having severe issues with his hair and his hair loss, and I told his mom he had to have his thyroid balance. Even though he went to his Western medical doctor, his doctor said there's nothing wrong with his thyroid, I can see that he had some severe imbalances in his endocrine panel. So I told his mom, until you can get that balance, he's going to have an accelerated rate of hair loss because his endocrine system is very imbalanced, and he's approaching puberty, and he's just having some issues with heredity. So in order to slow that down, if you can, you have to work on what the body needs. But they came a year later, thyroid, his endocrine panel still severely unbalanced, and his hair is just thinning at an even more rapid rate. So you have to pay attention to your body's hormones. So I also like to point out to my ladies, when you're suffering with PCOS, sometimes you will see excessive hair because that is androgen related, that is endocrine related. So you'll see a reduced rate of hair sometimes in the crown, but you'll see excessive rates of hair and hirsutism. You'll see excess hair everywhere else, hair all over the place, hair on your chest, hair in places where it shouldn't be. And sometimes you'll also have female related hair loss issues because the endocrine system is having a challenge, or you're sensitive to your own androgens or your own levels of hormones. What I also like to point out to my clients is when you're suffering with hormonal related hair loss, with women, if you can see this here, I always tell my women, when you have hormonal related hair loss, you're never ever going to lose all of your hair like a man would. You would never get to the point where you would lose all of your hair across the top of your head, because we don't have the levels of androgens in our body naturally to be able to lose hair to the degree that men do. So we just wouldn't lose all of our hair until you find a way to balance your hormones with a holistic practitioner or a certified trichologist or someone that can help you do that. Until you begin to balance your hormones, your hair will thin, but you will never lose hair the way a man does. And men, of course, men are the exception. If it goes and goes and goes and they don't do anything to counteract it, they can lose their hair eventually. And then some men, they just lose hair, have a mature hairline at first, they may lose hair, and some just thin and never completely lose all their hair. So their own sensitivity to their own androgens and their own male hormones, it differs with everyone. But just like I said, I wanted to point out the differences. So the hair can become thinner and see-through, but until you make those changes and correct the issues that your body needs, and depends on who your holistic practitioner is or who your health practitioner is. Sometimes we do different things. I use a galvanic skin response system. It's kind of like a lie detector for the body, and I will be able to find out some of the things that is bothering you, that is preventing you from having balanced hormones, and we can make changes. But you have to visit us to find out. That's something we can't just tell you over the phone, or you can call and say, what can I use, or what is that thing you're talking about? You'd have to come in and make a visit so that we can evaluate you and see what it is that you need, so we can help you get your hormones balanced. So I also wanted to point out that the hormonal related hair loss usually begins here in the crown because the androgen region is not affected below the eyebrow. It's usually above the eyebrow, and it usually comes from the vertex or maybe the occipital region, and it extends all the way to the front of the hairline. That is the region where you would always see, almost always, hormonal related hair loss. Now, I wanted to talk to you about scarring forms of hair loss, or what I tend to see a lot in my restoration center is CCCA. There are different types and different forms of scarring hair loss. One of the main ones that I see is CCCA. It's called centrifugal cicatricial scarring alopecia. This is dramatically different from hormonal hair loss, and I will admit women often have traces of hormonal related hair loss and scarring forms of hair loss at the same time. So sometimes when you're seeing a trichologist or you're seeing a holistic practitioner or a specialist that deals with hair, sometimes we can tell you that you actually have both, or you may have one or the other. But now I'm going into the scarring forms of hair loss, and I want to share with you what makes scarring as opposed to hormonal related hair loss. So I'm going to give you a lot of the information from this book, because a lot of you say, well, I want proof, I want receipts. Always, I'll get in my inbox, proof please, proof please. I need you to look up the color atlas of differential diagnosis of hair loss. So when I talk to my clients and I tell them where CCCA and different forms of scarring hair loss comes from, I point out to them that many scarring forms of alopecia, namely CCCA, it comes from maybe one of four things. It comes from a fungal issue, a bacterial issue, a protozoan issue, and an inflammatory contributor. So what I want to point out to you is kind of around this region here, this is what's called the sebaceous gland. This is the sebaceous gland here. Now the sebaceous gland will become very, very inflamed. It'll become very, very inflamed in this whole area here, which is called the infundibulum. This whole area of the infundibulum, it reacts to different biochemical changes in the body. Now, there are some things that happen when your body is constantly inflamed. You're constantly eating things like sugar, or you're eating foods that are wrong for your blood type. Like, I'm a B positive. If I consistently eat things that are not, hi, Avis Douglas, thank you. If you consistently eat things that are not right for your blood type, I'm not supposed to have chicken, I'm not supposed to have pickles, chickpeas, I am not supposed to have shrimp and shellfish. If your body and your genetic background did not eat those foods on a normal basis, what's going to happen if you eat the same foods that are constantly meant for someone else? You're going to have problems. So you will eventually cause your blood to thicken. Your blood feeds your hair papilla and the hair bulb here down at the bottom. Your hair bulb and your hair papilla. So if you're feeding your hair follicle thickened blood with reduced amounts of oxygen because you want to keep feeding it food that you are not supposed to be eating, guess what happens? You're going to start getting the remnants and the effects of inflammation. Inflammation will produce pain, stiffness, swelling, and eventually what's going to happen is your body will send those biochemical responses, like I said. For example, NF-kappa B, cytokines, and things like that. Those are inflammatory contributors, everyone. I'm a certified trichologist, so I'm sorry I got to do this to you, but you guys have to look this up. So when you have scarring alopecias, it always affects this area of the infundibulum, and it will begin to make it inflamed, and it will cause the hair to basically shrink. It will cause the entire follicle to convert back to a phase where the hair will cease to grow. There are different phases of the hair growth cycle. There's the catagen, the anagen, the telogen phase. So if you're not in the anagen phase, you're always in the catagen or the telogen phase. So when those different inflammatory reactions that are elicited and responded by the body, when those start to come to play, it's going to degrade your follicle, and it's going to keep your hair, it's going to keep the hair's follicle in that telogen and that catagen phase, and it will cease to grow. What I do want to point out to you is these types of scarring alopecias can be reversed if you catch it in time. If you visit your certified trichologist, you take advantage of the information, and you find out what it is that you can do to turn that situation around. A lot of times you can close up an entire vertex of hair that has begun to thin. So when you're feeling that stiffness and you're feeling that pain, you're feeling that swelling, you're feeling those creepy crawlies, it's because your follicle is literally inflamed. It is inflamed. This whole area is inflamed. So this is the skin. So if I cut you today with a knife, I'm going to cut you right to the white meat because your skin is only millimeters thick. So the top of your skin, in a millimeter, you're going to hit the hair and the hair follicle. Okay, so if you're feeling that pain, stiffness, and swelling in the crown, that's because it's inflamed. You can feel it. You can feel those creepy crawlies because it's right up underneath your skin. So you have to find out what it is that you can do to get rid of that inflammation. What some of my people usually do is visit a dermatologist. I usually tell everyone, a lot of my certified trichologists do not recommend you go to a dermatologist, but I say if you want immediate relief, and you have a dermatologist at your disposal, and you have that in your medical budget, and you can get that with your insurance, go get your intralesional steroid shots. Go get it because that will take care of that inflammation immediately. They will also probably give you something, which they always do, which is an antifungal shampoo, or they'll give you some type of antibiotics. At that point, I ask you to really think about what it is that you're getting from your dermatologist, because if you don't have a fungal issue, then don't take it, because if you take antibiotics, you may start to feel the effects of what women feel when they're on antibiotics for a time. Then they kill the good bacteria in their system. They develop yeast infections when their body's very sensitive. So I don't always advocate oral antibiotics. But if you want to get rid of that pain immediately, I know the intralesional steroid shots are sometimes cumbersome and they hurt, but they're meant for a purpose because they shut down the white blood cell attack on that hair's follicle immediately, eradicating the immune cell attack on your hair's follicles. So when I talked about how there are things that are elicited as a response to the body's biochemical system that's changing when you're going through a period of inflammation, part of that is because your immune system sees your hair's follicle as something that is foreign. So what happens is, when I talk with many people, I have to let them know that sometimes your body's immune system response, because of the inflammation, will make your body think that your hair's follicle is a foreign invader. So it will send out immune cells that will attack that hair follicle, and it will begin to shut that follicle down. What I like to point out to all of my Black women is, my African American women who this is prevalent among, when I see y'all have been fighting this for 5, 10, 20 years, and by the time I see you, there are no follicles. You have to get on this immediately. You can't keep covering it up with ponytails and crochets and elaborate lock styles. And I'm a hairstylist as well. I am a trained, licensed cosmetologist for the last 36 years. I get it. But when I see a client with hair loss, I have to let you know, if you cover it up, you're not getting vitamin D, you're not getting oxygen, you're not draining that lymphatic, you're not draining the lymphatics from your scalp. It can't drain from your sinus and it can't come out because you're not even getting up in there to loosen that up so that your body can get that blood flow. Your body will start to go through a sort of necrosis and the tissues begin to die off because you're not getting in there. You're not giving it any oxygen, blood flow, vitamin D, no sunlight, no nothing. And you're just leaving your crowns up there. You're leaving sew-ins. You're leaving stuff in your hair where it develops bacteria. It develops fungus. It develops protozoan-like issues in your scalp. And y'all covering up this inflammation. Then every time y'all take the stuff down, y'all say to your hairdresser, is my hair thinning? Yeah, your hair is thinning. You didn't know your hair was thinning because you've been covering up for years. And then depending on the hairstylist doesn't want to tell you it's thinning because we don't want you to think it was us. But it's partly us and it's partly you. You have to understand that you cannot do that to your hair and your scalp consistently because it's just not good. You can't just cover up your hair and not wash it. You have to shampoo your hair. So I covered that. The soreness, the pain, the tingling is usually associated with scarring forms of hair loss. When it comes to things such as lichen planopilaris, I know I'm not saying the word right, lichen planopilaris, that form is usually not always associated with pain and stiffness, but CCCA usually is. It usually begins in the vertex, and what makes it centrifugal is it starts in the vertex and works its way out. So sometimes it resembles hormonal hair loss, but it's not hormonal hair loss. It's also always most associated with pain, stiffness, swelling, tingling. It is a sensitivity that you just cannot describe because it just feels like, something is crawling up there. You will not see that with hormonal based hair loss. Immune cells are usually involved, and they usually attack that hair follicle. Usually when you go to a dermatologist, they will take a sample, they'll do a biopsy, and they'll let you know, depending on your dermatologist, they'll let you know if immune cells are present in that sample of your hair. So you can ask your dermatologist, were there immune cells present? How many follicles were in that sample? Are my follicles still viable? You have to ask your dermatologist these questions, because dermatologists, most of the time, they just want to get you out the door. They are not hair people. They're skin people. They're cancer people. They're lesion people. They're not hair people. You have to find a dermatologist who specializes in hair loss. You have to find them. There are few and far between them out there, but you have to ask them these questions, because I'll have clients, they'll say, oh yeah, I had a biopsy. Well, can you give me the paperwork? Can I see the paperwork? Oh, I didn't get any. I didn't hear from my dermatologist after that. You have to give us that information, because usually that's where we can start. If we can see what your dermatologist's diagnosis is, then we can give you some room to grow, or either we'll give you the rope to hang yourself. So you have to help us, because we can't help you if we don't have the information. You have to ask them for that. So I covered that the immune cells attack the hair follicle as if it's a foreign invader, and different types of scarring alopecias are lichen planopilaris, CCCA, and also frontal fibrosis, or FFFA. Those are some different types that I see very often. I also often see hair loss associated with lupus, or lupus erythematosus. So again, like I suggested, try to find this color atlas differential diagnosis of hair loss and read it for yourself. Scarring forms of hair loss come from a number of different reasons. Folliculitis, which is bacterial based. Fungal, which is yeast and fungus related. I have so many clients that do not shampoo their hair. You have to shampoo their hair at least, at minimum once a week. You have to shampoo. You have to get all that yeast, all of that sweat, all of that sebum off the top of your skin's barrier, so that any lotions and potions, anything that you use to help your hair grow, you need to be able to have a clean slate so that your hair's follicle can absorb that information. My sister Bacon Beauties, I had gotten this when I trained with Rodney Barnett some years ago. That was in 2011. I don't even know where he got it, but I guarantee you, if you go online and just put that in, you will find it. And as a trichologist, you need to have that in your clinic as well. But I that was given to me when I took the class, and I'm so sorry, I don't even know, where you can find it at this point. And I should do better with that next time, and I will. I'll look up some places where I can, help you find it, and I will let you know that. But I need for you guys to just understand the differences between hormonal related hair loss, or male or female type hair loss, and then scarring forms of hair loss, or CCCA type hair loss. So when you guys are in the mirror, you're home, you're talking with your dermatologist, you're talking with your hairstylist, you need to know what's going on with your own hair, because a lot of times your hairstylist doesn't know, because we're not trained for that. We're trained on how to cut, color, and style hair. We're not specifically trained to help you identify hair loss. Okay, Bacon Beauties. Yep, it is the color atlas of differential diagnosis of hair loss. Yes, ma'am. And when I finish, I will definitely try to DM you as well. But again, my name is LaRon Quarles. I'm a certified IUT trichologist here in the Pleasantville, New Jersey area. I also see clients in the Montclair, New Jersey area. So I service a lot of those from North Jersey and the New York area. So if you need me, just hit me in the DM, or you can visit my profile, book a 15-minute consultation so that we can make you aware of our process and tell you what it is that we do, so that we can give you the answers that you need. I have a lot of clients that come to us and they'll want to get the information. They want to know, well, how many people have you worked with, and what was the response of your clients? Did their hair grow? All of our clients are different. I have to point that out to you. Everyone needs to do their own work because everyone has different things going on with their body. They come from different places. They have diabetes, cholesterol, high blood pressure. They have digestive issues, different sensitivities to things with their gut that's coming out through their skin. Everyone is different, so everyone's journey with me is different. Then, amazingly enough, you have to call, pick up the phone, stop having paralysis of analysis, and just step out on faith and just talk to one of us. You may not want to work with us right now, but I will keep checking in with you, and I will keep letting you know that I'm still here waiting to serve your needs. So just give us a call, because what happens is, at least you can find out what it is that we require. I'll tell you everything that you need to get started with us. You'll have to forward your diet. You'll have to forward your blood work, because I can't tell you anything without viewing your blood work. You would have to answer maybe a 6 to 8 page questionnaire, but it's just about your health history, because if I know some things about you, I'm able to make better decisions. Your blood work, you need your blood work, your diet, your answer a consultation questionnaire, and then you'll also have to come in so that I can use my dermoscope so that I can look at your follicles and tell you what I see. Do I see miniaturization? Do I see swelling? Do I see abrasions? Do I see anything that looks like I need to have concerns with you about? And we will go from there, and then we will devise a plan. So just know that after you have your consultation with us, then comes the work. So if you're not ready to do the work because you can't do the same things that you're doing now, or have even more paralysis of analysis and say, oh, I think I will not do anything about this right now, or I'll start doing it next year, you may have even more issues and concerns the following year because you didn't do the due diligence now. You have to get on it and start working on it. Everyone's plan is different. We never know what your plan investment will be because we don't know what you need yet. That is another question that I get all the time. How much is everything cost? How much? We don't know, but we try to work out a budget for everyone. If the products that we recommend to you do not work, we will try to recommend you something else. Just knowing that a product that may be inferior may produce slower results. So we try to recommend things that we know that works and that's better customized for you. My name again is LaRon Quarles. I am a certified IAT trichologist. I have a hair restoration center. I am also a hair loss specialist, and I can help you with some elaborate, wonderful hair designs if you get to the point where you cannot restore your own hair. I am also a cosmetologist of 36 years, so I'm a hairstylist as well, so I can help you in a well-rounded fashion. Please give me a shout. I can be reached through my inbox if you go to the profile, or you can always find me, it's very easy, at hairlosscenternj.com, or you can find me at fixedthinninghair.com. And I thank you for joining me, everybody. Y'all all have a good day. Hi, Lolita Owens. Bye-bye.